Welcome to another episode of the Less is More Sports podcast. Unfortunately, my co-host Mari, Clucas, and Spencer weren't able to join me. Bean was able to join me, so for all the fans that love Bean, he's right here. So as much as for the fans that are wanting to see Clucas and Mari jump on the show, I promise you all they are going to be joining in future episodes. Just until we get this up and running so that we can make this our full-time job. Our schedules right now are very tough to comprehend, so hopefully in the near future we can get everyone back on the show and just have a good time. But for now, unfortunately, or fortunately, based on your standpoint on me on the show, it's just me tonight. Well, and Bean. So here goes nothing. So today I want to talk a little bit about a topic that I'm seeing happen way too much within the sports world. And I get it. It's very common for us in society, especially with how we're trained in media right now, to think. And that is how much fans live in the moment. We do it too much. I get it. That's what sells. That's what makes ratings. That's what creates clicks. That's how the media gets their ratings. That is what they train us to think like. And it gets people talking, and it's very entertaining. I'm all for that, and I understand it. However, we do it too much. But before I go into that segment of the show, since the last time we did hop on the show, a lot has happened. We had the NFL draft. Currently, the NBA playoffs are going on right now. We're in the Western and Eastern Conference Finals. The College World Series is going on right now. I actually have it playing in the background with Stanford and Vanderbilt, two very good baseball programs. MLB season is in full effect, and there's plenty more I could talk about, but for time's sake, I'm going to move on to the topic. So primarily, what I want to talk about today is how much we live in the moment and how it's not fair, not only to us, but the current players and the players of the past. And I want to center this podcast mostly about what's going on in the NBA playoffs right now. Because I don't know if you've been able to watch. Hopefully you have, because it's been a very entertaining playoffs. Plenty of good games. I mean, I've been getting home after work, going to the gym, and I'm up probably later than I should be, getting up and going to work tomorrow the next day. Just because these playoffs are so entertaining. And I can't get enough of it right now. I don't buy the whole I don't buy the whole that these ratings are skyrocketing because LeBron's on it, because that's, I won't get into that theory, but I just love seeing not only great games, but also seeing fans back in the stands, just feeling their energy and seeing them interact within the game. Obviously in the early rounds of the NBA playoffs, we had fans storming the court, we're throwing popcorn and bottles and, spitting on players. That's uncalled for. And I feel like those guys, they just don't know how to act. But overall, as a whole, seeing the energy from the fans and the players feed off of that has been really exciting for me, not only as an NBA fan, but as a podcast host. It gives me a lot to talk about. But with that being said, I feel like certain media outlets are also feeding off that excitement and making some absolutely crazy takes that I absolutely cannot get behind. And this is where I'm going to start going into my segment of how much we live in the moment. I have 3 examples off the top of my head that I really want to elaborate on. I'm going to start with the one that I had the least problem with and work my way up to the one I have the most problem with. So here goes nothing. Number 1, check my list right here. Kevin Durant is the best player on the planet. Before anybody says anything, I'm a Kevin Durant fan. Y'all know, hook 'em horns. Don't forget it. I will be one to say that he is a phenomenal player. And I am by no means, absolutely no way, shape, or form taking anything away from Kevin Durant. I've said this before, and I've been accused of doing exactly what I'm criticizing here on the podcast today and maybe living too much in the moment. But when I say this, Kevin Durant, in my opinion, is the most gifted scorer of all time. I want you to think about what I just said there. I didn't say most productive. I didn't say best. I said most gifted. This guy is a 7-footer with a lanky frame who can dribble like a guard, shoot anywhere on the court with or without the ball in his hands. He can post up, fade, shoot over defenders, and he can drive to the rim. There's never been somebody with that level of skill set with that much physical traits. And it's a gift to see. And when he's on, man, he is a sight to see. Even in their Game 7 loss to Milwaukee, he was sensational. His Game 5 victory over Milwaukee, where he played every minute of the game, it made. I don't know if you all follow my social media pages. For the ones that do, keep liking and subscribing. But that performance cracked my top 5 of some of the greatest postseason performances I've ever seen. So where I'm going into this is I want no confusion that I somehow believe that Kevin Durant is not a great player. He absolutely is. He is a first ballot Hall of Famer without question. And as I mentioned, the most gifted scorer in NBA history. Here's the problem I have with that. Is he the greatest player in the NBA right now? No. It's one answer, and it will probably be that same answer until he retires. And that's LeBron James. I know what people are thinking. LeBron's out of the playoffs. Kevin Durant made a farther run in the postseason. Look here. I get it. Here's a couple things we also have to look at, too. After the Lakers championship run last year, they only had 71 days until they turned around and played again a full season, well, close to a full season, and then had to make another playoff run. Fatigue was a major factor. And only that, they were banged up. LeBron wasn't 100%. Anthony Davis wasn't 100%. And others weren't 100%. I'm not one to make excuses, but that is the reality of the situation. And now I know what the Kevin Durant faithful was going to come back and say. Well, James Harden wasn't 100%. Kyrie Irving wasn't 100%. You're right. And I don't hold that against him too much. However, here's the thing. And I'm going to backtrack a little bit when I say this. Kevin Durant, in a lot of ways, has been treated unfairly. In the sense that he is constantly in the conversation of being neck and neck with LeBron James. Look, regardless of how you feel about him, regardless of if you agree with his politics or not, that's completely irrelevant to his game. LeBron James is a top 3 player of all time, and that's being conservative. What LeBron has been able to accomplish it's second to none. It rivals. I'm not going to sit here, get on the podcast right now and make a hot take and say he's better than Jordan. Like, his career's been better than Jordan. I'll wait till he retires before I really say for sure who is better between Mike and LeBron. But before he retires, he is without question a top 3 player of all time. His postseason dominance is still second to none of this generation. The man went to 10 finals in the last decade. I want you to think about that. 10 finals. And most of which being in the East, it's the same conference Kevin Durant is playing in right now. I get it. Teams are different. Little different scenarios. Look, I get it. Yada, yada, yada. But LeBron, while being healthy, while being as rested as KD is, I'll get it. Kevin Durant didn't play last season. He's had a lot of time to recoup, and he was fresher than LeBron James. I get it. Coming off an Achilles injury, it was amazing what he's been able to do. Take nothing away from that. But rest nonetheless. We've seen what a healthy LeBron can do in the postseason for the last 10 years. He can take teams without a James Harden or a Kyrie Irving to the finals. Kevin Durant went to the second round without those two guys at 100%. Granted, I get it. It's a big loss. It's unfair to put Kevin Durant in that same category of what LeBron's been able to do. But if fans are going to say that Kevin Durant is the best player on the planet, if you are going to continue to compare him to LeBron James, we need to have the same criticisms for Kevin Durant as LeBron James. Because at that point, you're holding him to the same standard. If LeBron James lost in the second round in the East, while being as fresh as Kevin Durant was, we would drill him to no end. When LeBron loses in the finals, it's considered a blemish on his resume. When LeBron misses a go-ahead shot, now this is the key one right here, it's a constant topic of why he's not Jordan. Kevin Durant airballed the go-ahead shot in double overtime in Game 7. Come around, it's a tough shot, very heavily contested. But if we're going to hold Kevin Durant to that standard, that conversation needs to be the same. You can't sit here and tell me that this guy is as good, if not better, or the best player on the planet if you're not holding him to the same standard as LeBron. Because LeBron, what he has been able to do, his career resume, and what he's still doing, next season will be his 19th season in the NBA, is absolutely remarkable and second to none. So please, backtrack on if Kevin Durant is the best player on the planet right now. Because until we see a dramatic drop from King James, it's going to be him, more than likely until he retires. But like I said, I have the least problem with that just because Kevin Durant is a very good player and probably, when 100%, is the second. But it's still unfair to compare him. It's apples and oranges. LeBron and Kevin Durant are on two different levels. All right. Gonna transition to the second one that I have an issue with. And it's a two-parter. One, I'm going to start off with a lesser of a take. And that is that Donovan Mitchell is the next Dwayne Wade. And here's another thing. I'm going to clarify again. I hear this comparison a lot. They are very similar. I agree 100%. Donovan Mitchell is one of my favorite young players in the NBA. A lot of because there's so many similarities between Dwayne Wade and Donovan Mitchell's game. And he's a great player. But remember, when Dwayne Wade was in his third year in the NBA, and I remember this well because I'm a Heat fan, and this may sound a little biased, don't care. When he was in his third year in the NBA, he led the Heat not only to a championship, he averaged the most points in the finals since Michael Jordan. Donovan Mitchell, as great as he is, as great of a season as the Jazz had in the regular season, they have yet to go to the finals. He has yet to accomplish enough to be mentioned in the same breath as the next Dwayne Wade. I'm excited to see how his career pans out. And I think it's sky's the limit of how far he could take the Jazz. I think they need a few more pieces. We can debate on a later podcast on what they need, but for time purposes, they need a couple more pieces. And I can see a championship appearance, if not a championship in the near future, as long as Donovan Mitchell stays put. But until then, let's pump the brakes on calling him the next Dwayne Wade, because we have to remember how much Dwayne Wade accomplished in his early career, even before LeBron and Chris Bosh came to town and created the Big Three. And then they went into 4 straight championships and 2 championship wins. Now here is the one that I really have an issue with. I'm not going to mention any names, but you all already know who said this. The statement that Donovan Mitchell is the greatest player in Jazz history already is way too far. As mentioned earlier in my comparison with Dwayne Wade, Donovan Mitchell has yet to make it to the finals. Now, granted, he's young. He has time. It's not out of the realm of possibility for him to make the finals in the future, if not win one. But it hasn't happened yet. He's playing great in the postseason the last couple years. And it's fun to watch. But you have to remember who all has been a part of the Jazz organization. You have, at power forward, the second all-time leading scorer in NBA history in Karl Malone. At point guard, you have the all-time leading assist leader, the all-time leading steals leader, and both of them led Utah to back-to-back championship appearances. Now, they didn't win. They ran into Jordan's Bulls. They didn't run into Jordan. Who knows how many championships they have. However, with that being said, it is way too early to put Donovan Mitchell in that category yet. He has not accomplished enough. That is a complete living in the moment, for lack of a better word. We need to pump the brakes on that. Donovan Mitchell is going to be a great player. He already is a great player. His career, barring injuries, knock on wood, I hope it doesn't happen because I love watching him play and he seems like an even better individual, is going to have a great career. I have no questions about that. But stop. Too far. And now number 3. Ironically, I'm actually going through these a lot quicker than I thought I would. But number 3, and this is one that was made by this same individual whose name I'm not going to mention on this podcast, but is the most asinine thing that I have heard in a long time. And it's unfair to both parties. Are you ready? You probably already know what it is. And that is that Devin Booker is the next Kobe Bryant. Again, I'm going to start this the same way I started off the other two. Devin Booker is a great player. The Suns are still in the playoffs. They won the first 2 games over the Clippers without Chris Paul. The game 1, he had a phenomenal game. Game 2, not as much, but he hit big shots late. He's a very gifted scorer and even improving in all aspects of his game. Play style is similar, maybe. But it is completely unfair to compare Devin Booker to one of the greatest players who have ever played this game. The thing is, what made Kobe Bryant special? No, actually, let me backtrack a little bit. If you are ready to say that Devin Booker is the next Kobe Bryant, you have to be ready to defend why he is going to have the same impact, not just on the Suns, not just on his own team, but you have to defend why he is going to have the same or similar impact on the game of basketball that Kobe Bryant did. What separates Kobe and Devin isn't necessarily skill set, maybe a little. I'd say Kobe was a little more athletic. They both have great footwork, both have great scoring abilities. Debatable on who's better at what. We can split hairs on that. But what really separates Kobe from Devin is up here. That Mamba mentality that was contagious for not just the LA Lakers of his era, but the entire league. Kobe Bryant taught a generation the meaning of hard work and what that means and what all has to happen to be successful. I'm not saying that Devin Booker doesn't work hard. I haven't watched his routines. He could very well. But the odds that he is putting in the same work that Kobe is very unlikely. And again, no disrespect to him in that aspect. But Kobe was different. You've all heard the stories. You all have heard it. Just the mentality and the desire that he had to be great. And I'll give a story for you. Devin Booker, a video went viral of him a couple years ago. We all saw it. He's playing in a pickup game with several other pro players. He gets double teamed in the corner and throws the ball out of bounds and complains about being double teamed in a pickup game and saying that we are here to work on our games, not get double teamed. And to me, I lost a little respect for him that day. I'm gaining, and I even went as far as to say he was soft. I'm gaining a little bit of that bag, especially after game 2 when he played with a broken nose. And he set a big screen to free up DeAndre Ayton for that go-ahead alley-oop dunk. Very tough plays, very tough mindset right there. I give him all the props in the world for that. But in that moment, it told me a lot of where his mentality was. Because here's the thing. In the game of basketball, I'm a nobody. We all know that. I was a good player, not great. You probably don't even know anything about my playing career. Goes to show how far I went. But even I get double teamed in pickup games. You know what I do? Pass to an open player. It's a winning play. Because I don't care if I score my points. I don't care if I look good or whatever. I just want to win. That's me. That's a pickup game. Double teaming is part of the game. For you to complain about being double teamed, I get it. You see it too much during the season or whatever, and you want to work on your game. But if you see it so much during the season, don't you want to work on how to beat it? That would be my mentality. And again, I'm a nobody. I'm not even a full-time podcast host right now. That's not even how I draw my main income. And that's the mentality I have over a player making millions of dollars more than me a year. Another story. This one to make a player look even more like a winner. Kobe wanted to be so respected and so important within basketball history that after he had already won 3 titles, he went out of his way to play at Rucker Park just because of the importance of playing at Rucker and how much it means historically to the game of basketball. All the great ones play at Rucker at least once or twice. And he shows up, and he does his thing. Well, it starts to rain. Then it starts to rain even more. Kobe made damn sure the game was not shut down and that he was going to complete that. That's a game that didn't even matter. He just wanted to be there just because he wanted to say he played at Rucker. Because of the importance that it would have on his career to say that he played at Rucker Park. Just because of what's the word I'm looking for? The sentimental value of the game of basketball, just playing at Rucker. But would anybody really hold that against him if he didn't? No. But he wanted to. Kobe wanted to be great. Every drop of blood in those veins, and those venom veins that he has with that Mamba mentality, wanted to be the best. And that is a mentality that inspired a generation of not only young basketball players, but young individuals. I don't see that from Devin Booker. He's a great player. I'm sure several want to model his game after him, and that's all cool. The Suns are having a lot of success right now. But if we are willing to say that Devin Booker is the next Kobe Bryant, not only is he going to have similar success on the court as Kobe, which is hard enough to do. Hard enough to do. He's going to have to leave a same to similar impact on the game of basketball. And if you even want to go a step farther, life, that Kobe did. And that is almost impossible to do. So it's completely not fair to Devin Booker to even be mentioned in the same breath as Kobe Bryant. And we need to stop. It's not fair to him. My whole point by saying this is, with a lot of these guys, is we live too much in the moment that we set unfair expectations to current players and we're disrespectful to the greats of the past. I'm all for it. Enjoy what you're seeing now because it's great. It's entertaining and I love every second of it. Please don't think I don't. But we don't need to set unfair expectations to these great players playing now and be disrespectful of players of the past. Let these guys be great. Because I know we all do it. When players are drafted, we make pro comparisons of who they play like. I get it. But at the end of the day, each player is its own individual. Let each player be themselves. Don't worry about if they're the next Dwayne Wade or if they're the next Kobe Bryant. I'm going to end this podcast by saying, let them be the best version of themselves. And sit back and enjoy the show. That's all the time I have for today. Thank you everybody for watching. And if you haven't already, like and subscribe to this channel, Less is More Sports. Follow the social media pages on Twitter and Facebook at Less is More Sports. And until next time, it's your host, Les Abbott. Hope you all have a good night.